Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. I had an idea the other day about this writing tutorial, writing lesson kind of topic video, and I got it from watching some of the anime that I've been watching, revisiting some of the stuff I used to enjoy, and then trying to discover some new stuff this summer. So I'll go ahead and say what the principle is, and then I'll give my example and how it came about, and we'll talk about it a little bit. It's the principle of it. It actually came from one of the writers on the Star Trek the original series. I forget which one. I always forget the name of which one. It was one of the writers who's a good, well-known sci-fi writer, and he was talking about Star Trek the original series, and he was specifically saying that you can only ask your audience to believe one unbelievable thing per episode. And I think that's really good advice for fiction writers in general about any story, really. Not just a television series. Now, it's not quite as restrictive as it sounds. You can take that literally to an extreme and argue with it. So bear with me and let me explain it, or give this example, which I think illustrates it pretty well. So, and again, this is just my advice, when it comes to this kind of writing. It's not to say that you can't break this rule and find a readership that enjoys it, or an audience that enjoys it. But I don't think stories that break this rule tend to be, for wide audiences, tend to really achieve a lot of acclaim, widespread acclaim. Anyway, so I was looking at another anime series to watch. I've been watching Naruto, and I love it. I tend to really like that shonen-centered anime, but I wanted to diversify a little bit over the summer. So some people were recommending different series to me, and one of them that they recommended was the Fate series, starting with Fate Zero and going into all the Fate series. And I looked into it a little bit, and it sounded pretty cool, the basic premise of it, that at least just I read. And a lot of people were recommending it. But see, here's the problem with recommendations. I make a lot of fuss about how, it's just like, guys, like anime fans will descend upon you with just so many recommendations. Well, the problem, though, with that is that it's just a bunch of noise, because you don't really know me or what I would like. You've seen my videos, and you can kind of make some, connections or assumptions based on that. But you don't really know, the ins and outs of me personally and what I would like. And I don't know you. I don't really know, you're just a commenter on my YouTube channel, or maybe a frequent commenter or whatever. I can know you at different levels, but I still don't really, you're not like somebody like Al. Al knows if I'd like something or not. He'll tell me, don't watch this. I like it, but you'll just pick it apart, So, I don't know whose recommendation to take. They all just sort of pile in. And a good example of this is, the Fate Zero, as far as just knowing me through my YouTube videos, that was a pretty good recommendation, because it deals with archetypes, and it deals with these classic heroes from the past, being brought forth as champions, their spirits or whatever. It sounds like on paper that might be something I'd be interested in. I watched the first 3 or so episodes. Not for me. Now, I didn't watch it long enough to be able to tell you it's a poorly written show, it's a horrible show. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not for me. And here's why, and it gets us to our writing lesson, is that it breaks that rule. It's got the world building of it, and this is something I see in Japanese fiction a lot. Not all of it, because as I've said, I really like a lot of anime series, and I'll give you some examples of series and things that I think do this well. But I notice, Sound Engraver right now, when we play video games together, she's playing through all of the old Final Fantasy games, for the Nintendo. And that's a different type of writing. It's for an old Nintendo game from another era. It's not really held to the same principles or guidelines, that even modern day video game writing is. But these worlds that each new game creates, it's just so varied, and there are a lot of cool things in it. A lot of cool characters, a lot of cool aspects or concepts or periods of its history or whatnot. It just creates all these things and throws so many ingredients in a pot, and then just like picks out 2 or 3 to kind of develop to the end, and then just leaves everything else in the pot there simmering unfinished, So that's what I found with Fate Zero. Now, before I give the example and talk about how it did this, I want to give an example of what I did find. I was really bummed because I thought I would like this show, so I was just looking at other shows, and I found another series by the same writer who did Fate Zero, and it's Psycho-Pass. Oh my gosh, Psycho-Pass is amazing. That's so up my alley. It's neo-noir with the cyberpunk aspect. It's not the most original concept in the world, but I think the execution of it seems pretty original, and I've watched 4 or 5 episodes of that now. Really enjoying that, and that's what I'm going to stick with for right now. But you compare the two. What does Psycho-Pass ask you to believe? Okay, that in the future at some point, or in this alternate, timeline or whatever, this, I don't even understand all of the ins and outs of it because I haven't gotten that far into the series, but this computer system, this Sybil computer system, it's called, named after the Sybil from mythologies and whatnot, comes about and starts to kind of run society. It reads your psychological health. It reads your capabilities. It kind of assigns you your jobs. It's very much sort of a tongue-in-cheek thing at communism, and and all these problems ensue. And of course, if it discovers that you have your psychological health is of a wrong shade, then you're a latent criminal because it reads that you could possibly commit a crime. So then you're carted off. You're basically arrested. And if you're too far gone psychologically, they'll just put you down right then and there. So it's really a fascinating premise there. But that's the unbelievable thing to actually believe, that this Sybil computer system somehow, some way, I'll find out later, gets established and it's in power. Well, everything else in the show trickles down from that. It flows out from that, like the Dominator guns that they have. Well, that's connected to Sybil, and it reads, through Sybil, it reads people's, psychopaths and whatnot. The idea of the tiered community with the hunting dogs or whatever, the latent criminals who agreed just to work for the government rather than be carted off to some detainment facility or whatever. All that works. The fact that if you've got Sybil there, this highly advanced computer system or whatever, then we've got the highly advanced internet world, where it's basically just avatars and stuff like that instead of just the net like we know it, which you can see in the foreseeable future anyway. So all of the wonderful world building aspects of Psycho-Pass stem from that one unbelievable thing that it asks you to believe. Consent, to suspend your disbelief, which is this computer system of Sybil controlling everything. That's great. Now, again, I'm 5 episodes in. Maybe if it goes farther with some other things, I haven't gotten there yet. But for right now, that's a wonderful idea. Just watching a few episodes of Fate Zero, way too many ingredients there. It's like kids playing Let's Pretend. There's too many things we got to keep track of pretending. Let's pretend there's a timeline where there exist mages. And mages, so there's magic, and mages have this power. And then let's also pretend that the Holy Grail is actually sentient, and it chooses people to try and find it every so often. And let's pretend that there's the Holy Church is there, and they kind of have, problems with this and that. Oh, and let's also pretend that King Arthur's a girl. And let's pretend... Stop. You've lost me. Light years beyond losing me. No, that's not... Don't tell me a story like that. Stick with a concept, develop it. Once it's fully developed, if you can bring another concept in, which can naturally transition from the first one, great. People tell me, no, the female King Arthur thing, that wasn't because it was woke, it was because they needed... Maybe, I don't know, I don't care. I just know as a King Arthur fan, bullcrap. You do not need a female King Arthur. If they wanted the female-male balance there, they should have picked Joan of Arc. You don't need a female King Arthur. That's garbage decision-making. That's horrible. Yeah, Fate Zero, not for me. 2 thumbs down, completely. I hate the very premise they're trying to build on. I think it's poorly done. Again, I don't know, maybe they weave something really cool about it later, but I don't care enough to get to that point. I'm not interested. So that was really disappointing too. And I'm not mad at people who recommended it. As I said, I can understand why watching my videos you might think I'd be into that. But Psycho-Pass though, oh man, it's awesome. I'm going to go watch a few more episodes after this. It's just so much fun, and I will be doing a video reaction to it. But yeah, as fantasy is not just fantasy writers, as genre writers, science fiction, fantasy, whatever, you got to keep track of how many things you're asking the audience to believe. This is one thing about lesser writers. It's much easier to world build than it is to construct and revise and keep pace and tension and character progression of a story. Much easier to world build. In fact, anybody can world build. It's one thing that comes kind of naturally to geeks is, keep your files of this universe you're creating and this and that. And it's great. World building is not to be shunned. If you're going to write in a fantasy genre or genre fiction, then you need to have good world building skills. But the story takes precedence. The story takes precedence over your world building. If you've got this really cool world building element, but it doesn't fit into the story, scrap it. Nobody cares. Only you care about that. That people want the story. They don't want your encyclopedia of your world. This is something that, publishers even had to tell Tolkien. After The Hobbit, Tolkien was just wanting to write his mythology, and his, the Silmarillion is basically what he wanted to write from the get-go, and they were saying, nope, we're going to need another story with hobbits. An actual story, not just a history, not just and he finally pulled out Lord of the Rings, which was epic, and because of that, then, so, okay, once you write your Lord of the Rings, then you can go write your Silmarillion, but not until then. It's a lesson that writers have to get their minds around, especially genre writers, science fiction, fantasy, all of the other subgenres, entailed with that. You can only ask your readers to believe one unbelievable thing at a time. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't, and so what I just say, so what basically I'm saying what I just described a minute ago, like with Psycho-Pass. It's okay if that one unbelievable thing does have a lot of other fantastical elements attached to it. That's fine, as long as there's a system. When you ask a reader to accept an alternate reality, the reader is immediately lost. Now, you're not. You're the writer. You know exactly how this all fits together. You can keep them in the dark. The reader's out there going, what? I mean, at every turn, if you're not turning on the light in each room that you lead them to, if you're not showing them how this fits together and how this universe works and how that works, people think they're being so clever and cunning by, keeping all of this from the reader, but really, you're really just exhausting them and increasing the chances that they're just going to put down your story and walk away and go, spend their time with something that doesn't frustrate them so much. And that's a natural, temptation as a writer, especially in a first draft or something like that. Mystery's great. Mystery deserves to have its place, and you can lead and bring readers on with mystery the right amount, but you've got to show your readers the way. Show them how your alternate reality that you're creating in your fiction world, show them how it fits together. Show them the logic of it. Show them the common sense of it. If you've got this new government system in your world, like something like Psycho-Pass does, then show us how it fits together. Not in a big diatribe that just exposition dump in the beginning or anything, but through the story, through the tale, the plot and pacing and everything like that. Show us that. And don't ask your readers to believe all these things just because you pull them out of your head and you say this is the way your universe is, if it doesn't make sense. If it doesn't feel like it fits together for a reason that serves the overall trajectory of the story, the overall themes, plot, tension, character development, and so forth, character arcs and whatnot. So that's all. I could talk more about that and kind of prattle on, but I like to keep these videos somewhat short. So that's all for this one, but I'll continue, I will come back and give a reaction sort of analysis of Psycho-Pass once I get farther into it, and I'll continue some more of these little writing tips videos as well, and when the two cross, great, this is wonderful, two birds. So, but thanks for watching, and until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks.